Hello and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorehead, an exclusive podcast by Direct Selling News, where host Wayne interviews the channel's leading corporate executives to provide timely insights and relevant takeaways to help you grow and evolve your businesses. In today's episode, Wayne is joined by Michael Hutch Hutchison, co-founder and chief executive officer of inGroup International, formerly known as inCruises. Hutch was just 25 years old when he went to work for Tony Robbins, and he says that experience helped him carve out his life's mission. Determined to find a way to help people make money doing what they love, as well as finding a way to give back, Hutch and fellow entrepreneur Frank Codina created inCruises in 2015. Recently rebranded as inGroup International to reflect its expanded offerings, it has become the world's largest subscription-based travel membership club with members and partners in more than 190 countries. In 2022, it ranked number 58 on the DSN Global 100 list with revenue of $109 million. One of the most compelling aspects of the inGroup International story is how the travel-based company made bold decisions during the pandemic that were polar opposite to most travel companies at the time. Have you ever heard the saying, "It's never the wrong time to do the right thing"? In this episode of Direct Approach, Hutch shares how their company's unusual but intentional approach to the pandemic reinforced their values and core principles. He also shares the importance of doing the right thing and taking care of people, no matter what challenges your company might be facing. And he talks about 3 things that every company can do right now to strengthen relationships and your business. Before we get into the interview, a reminder that the fall DSU event is just 3 weeks away on October 6th and 7th. That's a Thursday and Friday in Irving, Texas at the Irving Convention Center. DSU is the largest executive attended event in the channel. It's a free 2-day masterclass where corporate direct selling executives go for priceless peer-to-peer insights, trends, and takeaways to grow your business and your relevancy. Register today at dsu2022.com to join more than 1,000 of the channel's brightest brands and executive leaders. 75 plus CEOs and founders will be in attendance. 20 brand new speakers will take the stage at DSU. 14 supplier partners with channel expertise and updates on the latest trends and tech. Plus a special generational update from Jason Dorsey. If you were with us at the spring DSU event, Jason Dorsey was one of the top-rated presentations that people are still talking about, and we're excited to hear his updates. Plus, for those able to attend in person, you get access to more networking time, off-stage sharing and connections that you can only get at an in-person DSU event. An attendee welcome reception on the evening of Wednesday, October 5th for more networking time. And then we have a brand new workshop-style breakout experience that's going to be focused on Amazon and e-commerce strategies, taking place Friday, October 7th from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. Plus, a private networking lunch for workshop attendees only, following general session before the workshop begins. Plus, raffle prizes and so much more. DSU and the workshop are free to all active corporate direct selling executives. The workshop is in person only, though. We hope to see you in October. DSN is honored to be supported by industry suppliers that partner with companies across the channel to help enhance, streamline, and grow their businesses. This episode's sponsors are Nexio and InfoTrax. Nexio was purpose-built for direct and social selling companies. The robust software platform allows businesses with complex risk profiles to navigate the intricacies of payments and turn them into a strategic asset. From payouts to fraud protection to multi-currency to global expansion and more, Nexio has the tools you need to succeed. Learn more at nex.io. That's nex.io. And commissions payments and earnings go to real people with real needs, goals, struggles, and dreams. InfoTrax Systems believes that honest direct selling companies have a responsibility to be successful and efficient so that they can continue to provide those valuable dollars and cents to the people who need them in their lives. Instead of seeing commissions management as a necessary evil when running a business, InfoTrax invites all direct sales companies to take a step back and really consider why they are paying commissions. InfoTrax helps direct sales companies optimize, gain insight, and help change people's lives. That's why good direct sales companies pay commissions. That's why InfoTrax helps them do it right. Learn more at infotraxsys.com. And now, please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorehead, and today's guest, Michael Hutchison, co-founder and co-chief executive officer of inGroup International.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorehead, and I am very excited to be joined today by another incredible leader, co-founder and co-CEO of inCruises International, Michael Hutchison. Mike, so do you want me to call you Michael or Hutch? How do people refer to you?
Hutch is easy, Wayne. Everybody calls me Hutch. My in-laws, send me notes, Hutchison. So call me Hutch.
Oh, perfect. I love that. And definitely makes it easier for me. That's great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that there's a lot on your plate and everybody there at your company. And so it means a lot that you take the time. You've had a really, really interesting career as I delved even deeper into your background across so many industries and so many verticals, from investing in media, training and personal development, and so much more. Can you tell us a little bit about the path that led you into the direct selling channel?
Yep. So, well, first of all, it's an honor. I'm grateful to be with you, Wayne. Thank you to your fantastic team, Stu, Paula, and a cast of thousands, for inviting us. We're big fans of your program. I feel like I made it, quite frankly, to be invited on your program. So
the honor's ours.
Yeah. So thumbs up there. Yeah, gosh, the path that led me to this channel, it's been long, like most leaders, it's been challenging. And as I look back, Wayne, it's been some of the best years of my life. I've been fortunate to be surrounded with, great people, like you and your team along the way. And at age 25, I was fortunate for my first startup to go to work for and with Tony Robbins and my best friend in the world, Tom McCarthy. Tom, we call him T-Bird, and we've known each other since 7th grade. And your audience may be surprised to hear, knowing how successful Tony is today, that like most startups back in the mid to late 80s, we struggled. We struggled in our early days. We would often joke, Wayne, hey, if we had a nickel for everyone who said Tony who, every time we knocked on a corporate door, we could have retired early. But there were two groups that kept us afloat in the late 80s. Number one was Remax Real Estate. There was a franchise owner by the name of John Assaraf. And if you haven't had a chance to interview or meet John, you should. He's outstanding. Anytime I got behind in my seminars, I would reach out to John and say, hey, John, would you mind doing a fax blast to all the realtors in the country? And I know, people listening to this may say, what's a fax? What's a fax? But at any rate, the second group were direct sellers. They were attracted to Tony's events and seminars and still are to this day. So ever since my time with Tony back to age 25, I've always wanted to find a product that matched my values and I could put my name and reputation behind. And I searched, but I couldn't find that product. So I ended up starting my own company, typical entrepreneur. And I wanted to use direct selling as the distribution channel to get in front of my customers. And I think you'll find this fascinating. I attempted to make a credit card commissionable. So every time a card was swiped, the referrer would make an override. And I called it, and I created a domain called referral banking. And I had everything lined up. I was pumped up. I had a wealthy banking family as my partner. These may be some names that you remember. Jay Leisner designed our compensation plan. Kevin Thompson, was our legal counsel. And the big obstacle that stood in the way of us launching was I couldn't convince, Wayne, that the regulators in our country, in the US, to approve a monthly maintenance fee, tied to our credit card. the regulators wanted it to be zero. So they wanted it to be free. So we didn't launch. So again, I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of, hours, focus putting it together, but I ended up taking it on the chin, and it was an unsuccessful result. Yeah. So big setback, right? Months of energy was something that we were all, again, excited about, thinking it would be the next best thing, and it didn't work out. So during this time frame, as I was launching my company, a friend of mine, a fellow by the name of Ricky Rainbolt, and I knew each other from his Jim Rohn days. So that may be a name that your
absolutely
audience, yep. And Ricky introduced me to Frank Codina. Frank Codina was launching his company called Neurs, Neurs. So the last 5 letters of entrepreneurs, and it was a social network. And so what he was trying to create was something similar to LinkedIn meets Facebook, specifically for direct sellers. And he had a huge launch, a very successful launch. He attracted 30,000 plus affiliates around the world. And I attempted in my own way to help add value. And so I introduced him to a friend of mine, Kevin Harrington. Kevin Harrington was one of the original sharks, you'll recall, on Shark Tank. And so we all got together. We flew down to Miami, and I was impressed with Frank the day I met him. His wife and young boys were there at the office, and I said, this is a true family man. And so I could empathize. I could feel what he was going through, working days, nights, weekends at the office, and we bonded. We were impressed, if anything else, with each other, and we just kept in touch, right? And then a couple of years later, I ended up calling him up and said I had some business ideas that I would like to share with him. And so we agreed to meet in Coral Gables near his home at Houston's, one of our favorite restaurants. And here's what was cool: we're sharing ideas, and it's all around our wanting to disrupt travel. We saw what Uber had done in terms of positively disrupting the transportation industry. We saw what Airbnb had done in positively disrupting overnight accommodations. And so we both had this idea to disrupt travel. And more specifically, we wanted to get into the cruise business. We thought this business had not yet been positively interrupted. And it was Frank's idea for the membership idea, the idea of putting a membership behind a password protected site to make it exclusive. And again, to Frank's credit, that was his idea. And so think about what I just shared, Wayne. And what I maybe forgot to mention was the Neurs business, while it had a successful launch, it didn't have a recurring revenue stream. And so it just kind of, just fizzled out. So we both failed in our previous efforts. I couldn't launch my business. Frank launched successfully, but again, there wasn't something ongoing to keep the business, thriving. And that's what brought us together. I say, destiny, karma, good luck, blessings, however you want to describe it. And the good thing is that we shared this similar mindset, that we were both convinced that we're being set up for something bigger or better. And yet most people, Wayne, as I'm sure that you've discovered in your interviews and meeting people, don't ask that same question. They ask, why am I not successful? Where Frank and I ask the question, what are we being set up for? And so that's what brought me together with Frank Codina. Frank Codina has 25 years experience in the channel. I had zero experience in the channel. And what's kept us together is this, this mutual trust and respect and love that we have for each other. I'm so proud of the partnership that we have. We've got similar values and like good partners. We don't always agree, Wayne. We have figured out though that we just have to communicate with each other, and there's not a problem that we can't solve, that we don't know about. But so at any rate, that's my brief story. Is I always wanted to make an impact to the channel. I just needed to find the right partner, and destiny brought Frank Codina and I together. Neither one of us, I'll mention, had any experience running a cruise or leisure travel company. We were consumers of the product that we created. What we did not make sense logically. And both of us could have just quit, after our business failures, but we found a way to win. And so, gosh, just to recap, I've been fortunate, I've been blessed to be successful, yes, but I've also had, my share of failures and getting to where I am today. And at the end of the day, Wayne, it took me years to figure out what I'm really good at, which is helping people to find their joy and go on vacation, right? It took me years of trial and error to figure that lesson out.
Yeah, what an incredible journey and origin story. I am always amazed as I talk to founders how if you go back early in their journeys, in their careers, in their stories, they have worked with and are surrounded by a lot of really incredible people. And I'm just amazed at some of the names that you rattled off there. They're definitely not saying Tony Who anymore. That's for sure. Jim Rohn, I mean, all those individuals. And again, it's interesting that I feel like entrepreneurs and people with this drive and this passion to impact others and change lives and build companies are really always drawn to other people with a similar mission, with a similar drive. And that's just incredible. I can't imagine, being able to interact with all those amazing individuals, and congrats what you've been able to build so far.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we've heard a lot about all the challenges that companies have faced in 2020 and 2021, and some of the things that they overcame during those periods. But what inCruises experienced and had to overcome could have been absolutely catastrophic and was potentially game over for the company. It could have been. Can you tell us a little bit about what you experienced and what you did to come out of that thriving and continuing to grow now?
Well, again, being around leaders like, Jim Rohn and Tony and, people like yourself, I can't help but to remark that everything, we say, or what I've learned from those leaders, thought leaders, is that everything starts with your state of mind, your attitude. It comes from making a decision. And so Frank and I, resonate with looking at everything, Wayne, as either a curse, a blessing, or a learning opportunity. And the good news is we get to decide, right? We get to decide whether it's a curse, a blessing, or a learning opportunity.
So tell us about this wild story of 2020 and 2021. It's literally almost unbelievable. I don't know if you can script something like this.
Yeah, no, we can't make this stuff up. So look, so January, February 2020, Wayne, were our two biggest months in our company history. And so, just to relate to the audience about our trajectory, year over year growth, 300+% our first 4 years, became a $100 million business in our fourth year. In March 2020, the pandemic hit. We were on an amazing trajectory in terms of growth. We were, I like to say in English, we were smoking and going and, just making things happen. And, we're hitting on all cylinders, if you will. And then, March 2020 hit. And again, one of those moments of truth where, you look back and I remember distinctly calling Frank and saying, hey, bud, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about all this? I just wanted to, feel him out. And, so he shared with me his thoughts and I shared with him mine. And I said, look, I said, the industry has been through, similar viruses, N1, SARS, you name, the issues, the industry has been through it. But I said, look, brother, I said, this is the way I feel. You and I, we did not come this far to come this far, right? So we didn't come this far to only come this far. And I said, I know you have what I have inside me, and that is that you're not going to allow the CDC or the cruise line executives or politicians or government officials to control our destiny. We've worked too hard, and so I said let's make some of the tough decisions. And so that's where it started, Wayne. Was we made a decision. We saw this occurrence, yes, as a curse. Without a doubt, we saw it as a curse.
Sure.
But then we thought, well, what can we do to make it a blessing? What can we do to make it a learning opportunity? And so the first decision that we made was when the cruise lines canceled all cruises, or at least majority of cruises worldwide. There were still some limited sailings in some markets. People may or may not be aware of that. But we made the tough decision to refund every passenger. So every passenger, we said, we'll give you your money back. The cruise lines wanted to do something different. They wanted to have credits. They wanted to keep that revenue on the books. Why? Because the majority, the top 3 cruise lines are publicly traded, right? Mm-hmm. So think about that. So what we ended up doing, which turned out to be, again, a blessing, was we ended up advancing monies to the cruise line. So again, here's this little inCruises, and you got these stock exchange traded multi-billion-dollar companies, and our little company, stands up and says, look, we'll keep the money on the books. In fact, we'll advance monies to you. And what that did was it just brought us closer to the cruise lines. And then another tough decision that we made was, given the fear that was, endemic around the world, we made a decision to provide consumer protection for every member. We started paying insurance premiums, for every member payment, Wayne. So in the unlikely event that we were to go out of business, and again, not to make the comparison to an Air Berlin, one of the top 10 European airline companies, or Thomas Cook Travel, both of these companies went out of business, and passengers were stranded and stressed out. We made a decision that we were to go out of business, Frank and I would be hurt the most, and yet our members would be taken care of. They would be refunded. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So again, look at it. So our loyalty to our customers, showing them that we cared, our commitment to our vendors, to our partners, that enabled us to get preferential, margins, if you will, on the limited sailings that were going on. And so our top line revenues grew slightly, ever so slightly, in 2021. And even though our profits dropped, we still came out ahead. We got closer to our cruise line partners. We created more trust and loyalty with our customers. And at the end of the day, that's what this channel represents. Trust, loyalty. You have to have a quality solution that adds value in order for the product to sustain and thrive, given the word of mouth distribution channel that we're in. And so that's what worked out for us the best.
Truly an incredible story. I mean, your main offering is stopped in its tracks for indefinitely. You have no idea how long this is going to last, not going to last. And I find it so interesting and inspiring that you took the long-term approach. You could have looked at it at very short term, even 1 week, 2 weeks, how do we stay in business? But really making sure that you bring in and take a values approach and make that long-term commitment, so that as you hopefully, I'm saying that in quotes because none of us knew what was happening. As you come out, that you'll be in a good position to move forward, that hopefully you would have gained trust and some quote unquote capital with your partners and with your field, which I know you did with both. And it's amazing. And I know it's paid enormous dividends. I always find it interesting as well. Part of my background is in agency side and advertising. One of the things that's interesting in economic downturns, a lot of companies pull back on ad spend, pull back on promotions, and try to hunker down and survive. But time and time again, it's been shown that those that continue to invest and push forward are always those that come out ahead and in a much better position. And again, it's just so inspiring that it was so value-based, that you took care of your partners, that you took care of your distributors. Other companies might have just focused on the distributor and said, what can we do for them? And really not worry about the partners and kind of think that's just a risk of doing business. But making sure that all stakeholders and people in your value chain were taken care of is so admirable.
Yeah. And I love your description, and I resonate with the values, decision. And it just came down to belief, Wayne. It was, look, do we believe in the industry? Has the industry been through this? Has the channel been through this? Do we believe in each other? Do we believe in our leaders? And if the answer was yes, then we had no choice, but to move forward, right? So it was yes, values based, and the value was based on a belief that together we can resolve this, we can come out better, but we had to pull together, and unfortunately that's what we accomplished.
Well, again, congrats for how you handled it and managed it, and how you and Frank led the way through it. It's been an amazing lesson for us, and I know for your field as well. So a question, so you obviously got hit twice in a row in really short succession with a couple just unbelievable challenges. What can companies do to build resilience that maybe haven't gone through these reps or these situations, in hopes of preparing for when it comes, that they'll be much better positioned to handle it?
My definition of resilience, Wayne, perhaps like yours, is just simply that ability to cope, to effectively cope, with difficult, adverse, life-changing events. And I often say, to family and to our team that stress, look, it either brings you together or it pulls you apart. So from my experience, I mean, our company and other companies, they can simply do the following, right? They can focus on the bedrock of our channel, which is to help build relationships, help strengthen relationships. Those leaders on our team, Wayne, that go into a conversation with the outcome to strengthen the relationship, they are our top leaders. Those reps, those field leaders that go into a conversation just looking to earn commissions, they're not our top leaders, right? And so the first action that we as a company is to set the example. The cornerstone of the channel is to build relationships, build strong relationships, have those connected conversations. Remind people that you have to accept change, that the only only constant in life is change. And again, you asked a great question, which is the actions. What are the actions? And it's the actions that that speak loudest, that to help other people. You can't stand still. You can't ride a bicycle, Wayne, unless you're incredibly talented. Standing still, keeping the bike still. You got to pedal. You got to move forward. And then, like I said, when I was met with all that stress, is we help people to take care of themselves. We bring people together to build relationships, and we bring people together to have fun and to go on vacation. So those are just a few answers off the top of my head. I think you got to be a good example, right? And then I think back to some of the references that I've had. When I was with Tony Robbins, I ended up co-creating with Tony his flagship program still today called Mastery University. And I was fortunate to hire General Norman Schwarzkopf.
Storm and Norman.
Through Washington Speakers Bureau to come be our first faculty member, our first thought leader. And we asked Storm and Norman to speak on leadership. And still to this day, I remember having this conversation with him, and then him presenting the following. He said, look, Hutch, I just said, what general, would you share with me to help me as a leader? He just said, Hutch, when in command, take charge. That's number one. When in command, take charge. And he just said, leaders lead. And he said, there's no shortcuts. And so that was number one. And then number two, he looked me those steely blue eyes, and he just said, do what's right. He said, do what's right. So what companies can do, you asked this question, to build resilience, is just make good decisions, for your team, earn people's trust and loyalty. Don't as a company attempt to make shortcuts. And again, I'm not trying to, be condescending or judgmental. I'm just trying to answer the question.
Yeah.
Right. But I think when you make good decisions as a company, and you make decisions, that are going to help the company, be sustainable and withstand the test of time, you build confidence in your people, and then they emulate and duplicate what you do. That's the beauty of this business. It's leverage and duplication. So as a company, when we are examples, when we are the leaders, when we are in command and we take charge and we make good, responsible decisions, that are mutually beneficial to all parties, we build confidence in our team. And that's what enables them to do the same. And so
I love that. One of the things that really strikes me to General Storm and Norman's comments is we look for this secret formula, or, what are these elements for success, or the elements to become resilient? And a lot of them boil down to very simple principles. They're not easy to put into action, but they are simple. And so often we maybe abandon these principles, or avoid, or take that short-term approach. And it is amazing. Again, congrats to you and the team there, that you were able to put these practices multiple times, put these factors into practice multiple times. And it really ended up saving the company and allowing it to thrive. And as you said, with the field, building that trust, building credit with them, where they know that you're not going to lead them astray and that you're going to do the right thing. Another thing that's interesting in the list that kind of stood out for me is number 3, where you talked about accept change. I do think that's really important to condition our sales force, to condition our employees to know that things are going to change. We have a strategy today. This is not going to be locked in stone. What even maybe, a practice or a program or an element of a compensation plan might not always be there, but we are going to act in your best interest and in the company's best interest. And at times that means we're going to change, we're going to evolve. So I do think that's amazing to condition the field ahead of time, because as we know, so often they can be the ones that can potentially put the brakes on change and evolution. And I know one of the main areas that you've focused on there at the company is technology. Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy on what's important to keep control over versus outsource versus, license? Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy and strategy?
Yeah. So again, our philosophy came from our reference experiences. I spent about a decade in the enterprise software space and voice recognition. So when machines talk, so, voice to text, text to speech, so that was my background. I say Frank Codina is a smarty pants. And so what powers, travel, Wayne, is technology, right? You go online and you go to Priceline or Expedia, any of these places, and you press a button to, book a rental car or a flight. And you think, how easy this must be. The underlying infrastructure, behind all of that, travel machinations that's going on is incredibly complicated, very complex. And so what powers our travel club, our secret sauce, is our technology. And as you said, we wanted to do things differently. We ended up building our own code base to run our entire business under the surface. And wow. So what Frank Codina and our development team did from day one is we wanted to provide that fresh experience. We didn't want people to wait. And so we built everything in our back office. And it's a showcase for us, right? We built our own email. And so, just as, there's Outlook and there's Gmail, we have our own email system. We have our own CRM. We built our own compensation software. We built our mobile app. And again, that's been a decision that we've made since day one. Look, we were a startup, and it wasn't our first startup company together. And we knew what, our swim lane was. We knew what we were good at and what we weren't good at. And that's what we focused on. And this area of technology is an area that I would compare our team. We have a small team, Wayne. And again, I've worked with the biggest of the biggest, technology companies in the world. And I would put our crackerjack team of developers and technology team up against all these big companies. We've just been very, very fortunate to have attracted the smarty pants on the planet to our technology and development team.
That's great. What do you feel are some other elements that a company should keep internal, that they should maintain control over, that you feel so closely related to a company's success?
Good question. So look, for Frank and I, we filter our corporate decisions along these 3 filters. And so number 1, we ask this question, Wayne, is what we're doing, is it accessible to the majority of our members? So again, we have a subscription-based membership product. We started with cruises. We're now in hotels and resorts. We'll look at what the next area to go into from a subscription-based product. But the first question we ask is it accessible to the majority of our members? If it is, like excursions on a cruise or perhaps airlines or whatever the case may be, then we'll consider it. It'll go on our product roadmap. Number 2, is what we're doing affordable for a majority of our members. And lastly, is the decision that we're considering, is it keeping us profitable? And so going back to what I mentioned earlier, we do outsource, certain things, and we have in the past. But when these, products or services like, video conferencing, as an example, become so expensive, or they just don't scale, we can't get enough people on a video conference, then we either, then we'll go build it ourselves. An example, Amazon is a good example. They saw themselves as what? Originally as a bookseller, but all along Bezos was what? He was a tech company, and he never made a profit, selling books. And they could have outsourced their technology, because again, all they did was sell books. But Amazon, like us, and again, to make that comparison, to humble ourselves, they had a bigger vision. So, as to where they would be at the end of the day. And they looked at the number of servers and services that they needed, from outside vendors to run their operations, and it was expensive. So they decided, as the story, to build their own server systems. And once they did that, they realized that, once they solved that problem, they scratched that itch internally, that what they could do is be so good and offer value to other people. So Amazon Web Services was born, and Amazon Web Services is what makes Amazon so profitable. And Amazon is the major contributor, to Amazon's success. That's what we're doing, is we look at where can we, quote unquote, scratch our own itch, and we're building world-class, technology, and who knows, maybe one day, we will make what we make available to other people. That's the mindset. That's the vision that Frank and I have.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the examples you gave. And I agree. I think it is critical to look at your organization, to look at your business, identify those that are absolutely vital to your success, that if they went away, could you still function and do business? Another philosophy or kind of attribute of your success that I've seen is the ability and really the drive to do things differently. And one of the ways that you look at that is the responsibility between the sales force or the field and those in corporate. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the lines there? Do you feel that there's some really clear lines and guardrails that separate those responsibilities pretty clearly?
Sure. Well, I can say again, like every entrepreneur, we've been humbled in making certain decisions, and so one of those decisions is, yes, to divide those responsibilities and make it very clear. And it hasn't always been better, Wayne. Let me just say that. But I often say, look, if you want better, you have to do different. But here's where perhaps we're different. We said to our field leadership team, here's our partnership. Here's what we expect from you. Like any good relationship, we would be grateful. We expect you to refer quality clients, to us that are good, honest people, and we ask that you make best efforts for them to be productive and also bringing good, honest people. And I always say, how do you know their quality? You'll know their quality if you'll have them over for dinner, enjoy the conversation that you and I are having now, right? And then I say, guess what? We'll take care of everything else. We'll take care of everything. We'll take everything else off your plate. And so, that's the formula. That's the division of responsibilities, is that together we'll impact lives. And what we'll do is we'll stand the test of times, and we'll go so far as to teach you what to say and how to say it. You just have to figure out who to say it to. And so again, clear lines of responsibilities. And what I love about this channel, and again, the leadership that you and your team brings, is that we get to enjoy what human nature loves to do, which is to share what you love. When you go to a good resort, you go to a good hotel, you go see a good movie, you have a fantastic meal, you let people know about it. And so those are the lines of responsibility. I will segue and just say the following, which again, maybe just to shake up the listening audience, is that they may be surprised to hear that we've never paid a single leader to join our team. That's not, that doesn't represent our values. That's not who we are. We're 100% organic. Again, you bring us good, honest people. people that you have over for dinner, and we'll take care of everything else.
That's great. Again, to your point, I love establishing the values, those things that you will and won't do early on in a company. And it does make decision making, I think, easier and quicker once you've established those filters, for sure. And I also think in working with the field, clearly establishing those lines and socializing those internally and externally with the field is vital, so that they know, so that you are meeting expectations, that they don't have unmet expectations, that they're sitting there going, well, why isn't the company doing A, B, and C? Understanding the relationship and who does what, I think, is vital. Can you also talk that there's two things I'd love for you to touch on as it relates to that, just because I think you do it so uniquely, and I haven't heard, or at least I don't know of any other company in the channel that does it this way. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach events and how you also empower your field from kind of a bonusing or comp plan perspective?
Yeah. So remember my background, 1987 to 1994, I was with Tony Robbins. I was responsible for all sales and marketing. We're an events company. We're an events production company, right? So I had that experience, and I just had the conversation with our leaders and Frank, and I said, look, here's what we do well, and here's what we don't do well. I said, again, following this conversation regarding our partnership, we're going to spend the most money on you in terms of your compensation. We're going to spend the most money on you in terms of the membership product, the quote unquote cost of goods sold. And look, we can be generous in both of these areas, because what we don't have to spend money on, we're fortunate, Wayne, right? We don't have to build ships. We don't have to build hotels and resorts. We don't have to build our product. We're an online business. We're not, handling, phone calls, with reservation agents, with thousands of people in a building. All our reservations are made online. So again, back to the conversation. I said, look, nobody knows the event business better than I do. I'll help you, set up the events. I'll guide you on what the expectations can be. But look, you either have us put on the events and the conventions, or we will continue to pay you generously so that you can, as part of you growing your business, put on the events. And so, that decision was made early on, that we would empower them to run their own events. It was that, in the early days, Wayne, it was the train the trainer approach. We put the structure on. We let them run. We let them first walk. We let them run, and then we said, look, you got this. Go make this happen. And so again, think about it. Events are the best way for our leaders to get in front of new prospects, and that's their business, bringing us clients. And to their credit, I can say, as a proud, father, if you will, and co-owner, CEO with Frank, is that our partners, they put on world-class events. They bring entertainment and education. I'm so excited. I'm getting ready to go to Japan. I'm getting ready to go to Mongolia. And when you see the schedule of the entertainment that's brought in terms of, native dance and native performers, Wayne, it's unbelievable, what our team does. And so they figured out that, that magic formula of events of, what I call E-cubed, of educating, entertaining, and empowering people. And again, that was, my takeaway from my 7+ years with Tony Robbins. Last thing that I'll say, for our team, we made a decision, again, in terms of values, that events would not be a profit center. Growing your business is your profit center. And while other companies make money, with products, make money with tools, make money with events, that wasn't our formula. And fortunately for us, our events, may make or break even. But clearly, in the last 6+ years, our events do not lose money, for our people. So they've proven to be that excellent springboard to business growth and momentum, after the event. And again, a couple years back, for our 5th year anniversary, we did collaborate, with our team. And so again, we fluctuate. In the beginning, we were the trainer. We helped them put on events. We let them run and then have them themselves. We collaborated. So it depends on the situation. But again, when I go to Japan, when I go to Mongolia, The teams are putting on the events. I'm just showing up. Not a single corporate employee will be involved in that event, and we'll have thousands of people, and they'll run it like clockwork, Wayne, like absolute clockwork.
Amazing. I love that approach. So talk a little bit about the bonus aspect around empowerment with the field.
Yeah. So
it's a cool approach.
Yeah. So I remember, sharing this story. A thought leader friend of ours that you and I both know, said, "Hey, what are you guys doing differently?" And just to shake things up, I said, we empower our leaders, to go into their back office and improve bonuses for their people. And I remember this guy turned around and looked at me, Wayne, like I was a green dog, right? And so I knew that we were onto something. So here's the background. We have a tiered, instant pay bonus for signing up new customers. So the more you bring in, the more money you earn. And that instant pay bonus, it's generous and it's immediate. And so anytime in the industry, as you know, anything that you have something that's generous and immediate, it has a tendency to attract some of the bad actors. We just said to our leaders, look, we have to know our customer, right? The KYC in English, know your customer. And we can do one of the following. We can ask your customer for all kinds of information, have them upload passports, identity cards, take selfies, and just know that may or may not delay, their signups as one option. Or we can ask you for you to vouch for your people. And to help them, Wayne, I mentioned this video conferencing. We partnered with a company where we may be one of, if not the only, company that uses direct selling as a distribution channel to provide video conferencing to every partner. It's part of their partner advantage. And so we said, look, simply just do what you and I are doing, Wayne. Just look them in the eyes, and do you trust them? Are they real people? And if they are, and you're willing to accept responsibility, we're going to give you admin privileges. We'll allow you to go into the back office and you approve their bonuses. And so the net result of that has been, 2 thumbs up. We've got super low refunds. We have super low chargebacks, for a company of our volume. Partners are happy. Customers are happy. They get signed up, immediately. And that just helps with the overall customer satisfaction, retention of our team.
I absolutely love that. You're such an incredible example, you and the company, for this idea around empowering the field. We all talk about it. We've all done it in certain elements, but it seems like you're really kind of at the tip of the spear there, trying to change things and how we approach certain practices. And even outside of that, just from a field development and field growth standpoint, we all know that each of us, including the field as well, we work harder, we care more when we're given autonomy, when we're empowered in our daily lives and in our jobs. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but the days, the early days of command and control where everything was templated, those days are absolutely gone. And now it is about engage and empowerment, really giving the field the reins to do as much as they possibly can. And back to your point also of keeping those lines really clear, so we know what we need to do, they know what they need to do, and then just kind of let them run with it. I think that's really inspiring. One of the big discussions, quote unquote, arguments in the channel is around leading with product versus the opportunity, how we position our companies. And all of us are trying to figure out, and there is a difference between categories, and every company is a little bit different, but it's something that we're all wrestling with. We're trying to figure out what's the best way forward. And I know that you have been very intentional around how you've positioned inCruises. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of where you fall on that spectrum?
Sure. Well, I'll answer just by telling a quick story. I built Tony Robbins outside sales force, internationally, and I always looked for those people, Wayne, that wanted to create an impact. Number one, that in their heart, that they wanted to create an impact. And number two, I looked for those people that wanted to create an impact and be around people that wanted to create an impact, and they wanted to do meaningful work, right? So for me, at the age of 25, when I'm hiring people, for the first time in my career in my startup, that's where it got started for me. I looked for what was in their heart. Did they want to make an impact? And I share that story with my team now. And I say, I don't look for people that are looking to travel. I look for people that want to bring joy to other people, by traveling. So that's the short answer. And I'll just, expand from there and just say, look, I've been an employee in my career. I've been a business owner, and I've enjoyed the most impact. Again, that word impact as a business owner. So we position the business that we help, would-be entrepreneurs become business owners. And so the service of our business, again, you're a branding, master, if you will, is being in, the word IN, that's our brand. That's the sustaining, value of our company. We want to bring value to other industries. We never want it to be about us. We want to be about impacting other people. And so again, that's the surface of our business. It's being in our club, to being in the team, or being part of something bigger than yourselves. Enters our brand, right? And again, the surface of our business is travel. Travel membership. Why? It's sexy. It's fun. Everybody wants to travel. I bet if you go back to every other leader that you've had on your show and their leaders, and you ask them, what they will do with their earnings, what they've done, what they'll do with their compensation, and I'll say travel. They want to see the world. And so that's the surface, right? Wayne, you with me? And then
Yes.
Immediately after that, I already talked about is the technology layer. That's what powers the ability to do what we do. But at our foundation, at our core, Wayne, we're in the leadership development business. So the use of our product then is a metaphor. It's a metaphor to get out of your comfort zone, to leave the proverbial safety of the harbor behind. So it's all leadership focused. It's all leadership based. And so the answer for me is what I said in the beginning, going back to my earliest days at age 25 with Tony Robbins. I looked for people with impact. I didn't look for people that wanted to travel. We traveled the world with Tony. inCruises, we're the world's largest, travel membership club. We're looking for people that want to make an impact.
One of the things we haven't yet touched on that's impacted so many businesses around the world, but also in direct selling, is really what's going on in Eastern Europe right now, between Russia and Ukraine. I know, you mentioned the launch, all the huge challenges around launch, and then going into 2020 and 2021, and you're probably just barely catching your collective breaths right now at a company. And now there's an issue that impacts a very large percentage of your revenue at your company. Can you talk a little bit about how you are managing or handling kind of what happened, kind of maybe in the early days of that conflict and that issue, and what you're going to do now to continue to move forward?
Yeah. So it's been hard, right, Wayne? Incredibly, challenging, incredibly difficult. We thought, we got through the pandemic, we got to, catch our breath. We got to come up, for air. And then, February 24th, Russia invades the Ukraine. And these are, some of the top leaders in our business. This area of the world represents approximately 25% of our business, and all the energy and efforts that we've put into building relationships, building trust, helping people to, work through adversity, is yet another test. We get tested. And so we've had to handle it with kid gloves, if you will. Last October, I was there in the Ukraine, with our people. We had a regional event. We had thousands of people that were there, and it was certainly different. Back in May when I went to Poland, to visit, our leaders. And the reason I had to go to Poland is because, the women have all left Poland. Men over the age of 18 and under the age of 65 are not allowed to leave the country. And so it's been hard, right, Wayne? And we have abided by, the laws of, the United States in terms of, sanctions, against our Russian partners. We absolutely are law abiding, and we've done everything within our legal power to support them to get paid, to enable them, to continue doing what they've been doing. But it's been difficult, right? And there's been an exodus, from our partners, leaving their mother country and going to other parts of the world. Again, we've helped them with wallet to wallet transfers because you couldn't pay them, right? You couldn't pay them. So we've done everything that we can within our resources that was legal and right to support our Russian friends and partners. And at the same time, we have to do what's right. We have to be law-abiding citizens and follow the sanctions. At the same time, the Ukrainians, their lives have been forever changed. We have corporate, leaders in Ukraine. They've had to move. They've had to move several times. And so we created an initiative, right? We put forth, the figure of $1 million, to help our partners. Wow. To get gas, to get some food, to put some food on the table, to help them with just some basic, sundry and supplies, help them. And I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of Frank Codina and our corporate team, to do what we've done. That figure has surpassed, much higher than $1 million, but it's been worth it, right? To help them. So we just continue to support them, to the extent that we can. And what a nightmare, for these people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know it's difficult on so many levels and challenging, and our heart goes out to all of those that have been impacted. And as you were speaking, my mind went back to that list you initially gave, around continuing to do the right thing, taking action, building trust, and taking that long-term approach. And it sounds like you're doing that as well here. So looking here kind of domestically, we are looking at a potentially challenging economic time. I'm curious how you view this potential challenging time. We all know that historically there's been kind of an inverse relationship where sometimes when the economy is more challenged, demand for additional income, for engagement in direct selling goes up. How are you viewing this right now going through? Do you feel that we'll see kind of a similar reaction with increased demand, or will this be different than times past?
I think it's going to be the same, Wayne. I think it's going to be exactly the same. I mean, look, there's so much pent up demand for travel. I mean, did you see that, Heathrow Airport?
Yeah, had to shut down or stop selling tickets at least.
Yeah, had to shut down. And I don't know if you've been out there traveling. Again, we just got back. I was in Spain. I was in Italy. I was in Poland. Lines are out the door. The pent up demand, people just wanting to feel whole again, wanting to get out of the house. And so I think we've got that going for us. Number one. Number two, the fact that what we make available through our membership club is unmatched and unavailable. Again, we make vacation travel accessible and affordable. And so we're fortunate in that regard. And as budgets get tight, I think people are going to look for ways to save. And that's what we provide. We provide an unmatched savings, for our members. So I think we're going to help there. And then I agree with you wholeheartedly that the inverse relationship, that people, during, tough times, need to go do something different. When things are, abundant, they may be complacent. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly that we're going to be positioned, right at the middle of that, inverse relationship, that in spite of what's going on in the economy, people look for ways to still get out. And because our membership has built-in value, has that stored value, it never expires. People can't lose money with our membership. I think that's going to set us apart, for years to come. We'll be a legacy company no matter what economy that we are in.
I share your same sentiment. Again, I think that the channel kind of as a whole is positioned really well to help people with additional income, with increased opportunity. And so I think that will be, one of the silver linings to an otherwise challenging time. So last question here. We've talked about all that the company has gone through from founding to challenges to growth. It seems like your company has lived a few life cycles, already in a very short period of time. What do you feel is the biggest leadership lesson or the biggest takeaway that you learned throughout this time in inCruises?
Is that we've got to continue to be better at simplifying, our offering, to the marketplace. We have to do a better job of anticipating, looking around the corner as to what our partners and our customers need. My buddy Tony Robbins, would say, Hutch, anticipation is power. And so that would be the second thing is we got to get better at anticipating, the needs in the market space. And finally, I think we just got to get better at, helping others know our stories. But of all the things that I feel like we do extremely well, in this channel, is we help people internally. We help people to rework their story. Most people have never been entrepreneurs before entering into this, this channel. People are doing things that they've never done before. They've had to, get out of their comfort zone. They've had to introduce themselves online, offline. They've had to, build a social presence. And so I think that the best leadership lessons that we can do is to help people get comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to help people, to enjoy that struggle, that internal story, that reference point that enables people to be confident, about their business. And just to go back to what you say, we just got to do a great job, with just the basics, right? How to build rapport, how to open conversations, small talk, go in there confidently that you're there to strengthen the relationship and connect with others. And when we continue to challenge, those that are entering the channel for the first time and get them good at, doing things that they're not accustomed to doing, to reworking their story, we have tremendous upside. And I'm the best example of that. Let me just finish with that. You may or may not, believe this, but I grew up very shy. I grew up very quiet. My father was a military officer. I had 3 brothers, 4 boys. My dad's, mantra was speak softly and carry a big stick. So very tight, loving family, very disciplined. And yet we grew not to speak up about things, right? And so I grew up shy, I grew up quiet, I grew up introverted. And had I maintained that story, Wayne, as a leader, I wouldn't be where I am today. I had to get out of my shell. I had to become what I call a situational introvert. Be quiet when the time was quiet, listen as a leader, show my love by listening. But I had to get out. I had to let people know what was inside my heart. And so I think that's that would probably be the best way to wrap this up is help those joining your company craft their story, give them an internal shift about who they are and what they're capable of, and give them all the reminders that, of all the goodness that you have to offer, and help them to share the love that they have for your product. I think when you do that, we've got a winner. We're all going to win together.
I love that. That is such an inspiring, so many inspiring insights to end on. Thank you, Hutch. This has been incredible for sharing your time, your expertise, all the experiences. I've learned so much, and I know everybody else listening did as well. And finally, thank you for all you do for the direct selling channel and to helping all of us get better. Have a great one. Thank you, Hutch. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to subscribe so that you're the first to know when new episodes are available. And don't miss out on the fall DSU event this Thursday, October 6th, and Friday, October 7th, located at the Irving Convention Center, just 10 miles, 10 minutes away from DFW Airport. Now is the time to plug in with your peers and learn what's working, what's not, and what's next for the channel. Register today at dsu2022.com, and we look forward to seeing you in October. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach Podcast.